Now, alleged multi-billion-rand farming and housing corruption within the Free State government has taken centre stage in the 4th edition of the State Capture Report. In particular, the manner in which the provincial government, through the Department of Human Settlements, handled its 1 billion rand housing project. The report was released last week and has described the housing debacle as wasteful expenditure and a dismal failure. Let's speak to our senior reporter, Tumaole Mohlaoli, who is following the State Capture Inquiry's 4th edition. He joins us in studio to unpack it further. Tommy, it's great to have you on this particular story.
To be here, Michelle.
I mean, the Zondo Commission finding that 1 billion rand housing project in the Free State, as we said there, was a dismal failure. Just for the sake of our viewers, give us some background, because what we know on the face of it is that not a single house was actually delivered.
Well, Michelle, in some cases, only slabs were delivered. So beneficiaries are still crying out, saying that that project was supposed to change their lives and was supposed to be one of those economic boosters for the province. And this was indeed one of those issues that really put the Free State, provincial government under the spotlight. And again, when you look at what happens, if you look at the names involved in that particular approval or the deals behind how that particular housing project was approved, we have the name of one Msebenzi Zwane coming into the fold. Of course, we have the name of Ace Magashule, who's always been a big player in the Free State, of course, having been premier there during those years. And those would certainly suggest that they have a lot to answer to. If you think back towards the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, of course, Zwane was put in the spotlight under the grill as to how this was this particular agreement or how this particular debacle happened. And when it comes to 1 billion housing thing, he says that, of course, he places it on the heads of executives and heads of department, saying that he didn't have anything to do with it. In fact, on one of his testimonies when he was being, interrogated, for lack of a better word, before the commission, I remember clearly, he says that he had gone on a trip to Switzerland at the time, and he had left it up to his officials, and all he had to do was to do oversight, which means he thought that all his responsibility was to basically come there and open houses, and that the officials in the housing department were the ones that were tasked with ensuring that the money was well spent. However, he sat on EXCO meetings, and these particular issues were then brought forward, and he put his rubber stamp behind that. So that certainly is one thing that the report would deal with, and looks very unfavorably towards. Yeah,
the State Capture Inquiry report and the chair of the inquiry not buying his version of events. Eskom also features quite highly in the report, doesn't it?
Yes, Eskom does feature.
And particularly the former President Jacob Zuma.
Yes, former President Jacob Zuma's name also features in quite highly. Also, just certainly about the role that he played in the so-called capture of Eskom, because there had been, testimonies given before the Zondo Commission of Inquiry of how he would intervene and intercede in particularly the firing and hiring of executives. There were several meetings with which, executives, key executives in the finance sector of Eskom that made the decisions as to where contracts went, etc., were fired, and many were given multi-million rand, golden handshakes. The Zondo Commission of Inquiry, asked very specifically why this seemed to be the case. It seemed to be a habit, if one could put it there, because Brian Molefe came in, the same thing was happening. Zola Tsotsi, who was, of course, the chairman, testified how there was presidential overreach, how during key meetings of the EXCO, you would get phone calls and people coming in and out. The name of one, Romeo Khumalo, was also mentioned. And Tsotsi was saying he didn't understand what Romeo Khumalo would be doing in these meetings, but he seemed to be the man that would be delivering messages, of course, during the meetings, taking phone calls. Barbara Hogan was asked, what was happening with these executives, and she basically suggested that, at her level, all she had to do was oversight. She had understood there was a problem. She tried to intervene, but could not be seen to be interjecting directly, and that the executives had to do what they had to do. Of course, many of them were suspended, and this left Eskom in very, very dire straits.
Yeah, and of course, we're all paying the price now, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Tumaole Mohlaoli, thanks very much for coming into studio. The 4th part of the State Capture Inquiry report released just last week. Tumaole, just giving us a sense of what's contained, really just a snapshot of what's contained in that report.